name is Amy. I'm a worker here at Sassy. Today we're going to be making bread pudding. Bread pudding is a great dessert because what it uses is the ends of any bread you have. Once it starts getting stale, it's perfect time to make bread pudding. The staler the better. We don't want to go into like moldy territory, but stale is good. And what you do is you take up the bread. Ends are the best pieces too, so if you don't like eating your bread butts, we do that and break it into good 1-inch pieces. If you don't have stale bread, you can also take your bread and put it in your oven at 350 for 10 minutes. It'll just dry it out, and if it gets a little, that's okay too. So we're just gonna break up the bread. Like any good cooking show, I already have most of it done. Like I said, 1-inch pieces. The really good thing about this recipe is that it can use anything. Any type of bread you have, if you have stale bagels, if you have an old French loaf. It usually says to use white bread, but there's no reason for that. I'm using some beautiful 12 grain. So where this recipe came from is this is a struggle meal. People used to go around and get the ingredients from their friends and neighbors. My grandmother came over just after World War II with my grandfather, who was a soldier, Canadian soldier, who was fighting overseas. And my mother came back to Canada, believing she was coming into a place of wealth and riches from her very poor home in a city that had been through the Blitz, which was one of the bombing crusades in World War II. Unfortunately, she did not come to a nice rich town. She came to a poor dunk little hole-in-the-wall town just outside of Nova Scotia. She was very upset about it. But one thing she brought with her is, again, the bread pudding. So she would ask her neighbors, do you have an egg? Do you have an end of bread? Do you have some sugar? And then she would make this and then read. So again, it's nothing about this needs to be precise. Don't have enough milk? Add an extra egg. Don't have enough eggs? Add some milk. So we're going to be adding 3 cups of milk. Again, little splash is fine. Bowl of eggs. Why do I keep my eggs in a bowl? So they don't roll off the counter.
Smart. Tips and tricks with Amy.
So I'm a little unconventional. I like to do my eggs with a potato masher so that they mash in, so that when I'm stirring, it doesn't go everywhere. That's just a me thing.
Wow, another fancy trick.
What are we doing next? We've got sugar, and again, I'm doubling this recipe, but again, the great thing about this recipe is it can be made larger or smaller. If you have 2 slices of bread, an egg, a tablespoon of sugar, and a splash of cinnamon, boom, put it in a cup, put it in the microwave for 30 seconds.
So was that brown sugar that you just used?
Yeah, it was brown sugar, but again, white sugar, yellow sugar, whatever you've got on hand.
Cool.
Get some vanilla extract. I'm going to make it look fancy like I'm measuring, but again, however much you like. And again, a little splash, fine. My favorite parts, cinnamon and nutmeg. No, I'm not measuring these. Just.
You don't need to measure cinnamon.
Nah, to taste. Cinnamon is a lot like garlic. You know, recipes are suggestions.
Garlic for dessert.
Not in this though. I have seen people make it savory, but I have never done it. Then it would be like a broche, I think it's called. Broche sandwich. And, yeah, see, this is why I mashed it up with a potato masher, because there's still a egg in there. So this is some melted butter. It's about 3 tablespoons. That goes right in. This is lightly beaten, which is why I didn't want to use a whisk or anything like that, but I am going to go back to my fork, which Libby suggested. And we just take our whole mixture and we put it over
Ooh.
the bread. And that's why you need the bread sort of stale and or toasted.
So is it kind of almost like a French toast type thing? Cool.
Because if you ask the British, they will claim it and call it bread pudding. If you ask French Canadians, though, I don't know the word, but they will also claim it. And it just seems to be one of those things where if you have bread, eggs, milk, it's part of the culture.
Mm-hmm.
So then we leave this for about 10 minutes. And while you're doing that, you can clean up your kitchen. And so now we're back in our clean kitchen. While we cleaned up, we also preheated the oven. That's 350. We let our pudding rest. And as we can see, it's all moistened.
Ew, moistened.
What we're gonna do is we're gonna check out, just sort of poke and prod, and make sure that there's no dry bits. And if there is, when you do this, you can always put a little bit more if you need to. Shimmy that back into place. Back in the sink. And preheat it just in time. And we'll put this on in our preheated oven. For 15 minutes. And
And
we'll check back in when that's done.
yeah, now we wait.